they're going back to back. We'll see.
Happy Thursday, and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by my sous chef, Erik. We got Captain Redbeard behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Do us a solid, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. We're in the big boy studio today with a big question that needs to be answered. Rubus, can Arizona State go back to back?
Yep. Thank you for watching PHNX
that's
Sun
great.
Devils.
Give us a follow.
Go
PHNX.
Devils. In peace.
Love it. Before the
music's done.
is even done.
I mean, talk about an efficient show. That's what we do over here.
I mean, we get it done. We absolutely get it done. Look, we will be discussing that throughout the entirety of today's show. Also got some interesting notes from Arizona State's 8th spring football practice. Feels like some players are starting to separate themselves at some key positions, so definitely something to keep in mind. But before we get into all of that, two things that I feel like we must address. First and foremost, this is Captain Redbeard's second to last show on the program. Just absolute pain.
Yeah.
Are you booing yourself? Or
I'm booing myself.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that's fair.
Good.
He deserves that.
Yes.
I feel like we for such a long time, we have built Captain Redbeard up. We never tear him down.
It's about damn time.
Yeah.
We do.
Should we save it for tomorrow? Tear him down tomorrow?
Oh, you know, most people's last show is just like nothing but nice things.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we just lay
Just
into
everything
him.
that's wrong with Captain Redbeard.
Oh, can't hold on to a phone to save his life. Jeez.
Oh my goodness. Second of all, the internet hates my choice of sandwiches.
Yeah, you got absolutely railroaded in that poll.
Not great.
I
mean, great.
Welcome back to the regular season, bud. It was a
don't
nice
bud me,
It was
pal.
a nice preseason for you, champ. But the champ is here.
You won one.
Listen, I won all last summer. I plan on winning all this summer.
Yeah.
My only competition in Captain Redbeard is leaving.
Your only competition. Has Captain ever won a snake draft?
No, but he got second and you got third. By a
that's
wide
pretty
margin.
bad because I'm pretty awful. So.
Yeah. I felt like you drafted really good sandwiches.
Yeah, I thought you had a good draft.
I'll be honest, I have probably had maybe one of the 5 sandwiches that you actually drafted.
French dip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were the other ones?
Italian.
You've had Italian, right?
Po' boy.
Maybe
banh
once
mi,
in my life. No, never.
Lobster roll?
No lobster roll, no banh mi, none of those. Yeah. I'm not very cultured when it comes to sandwiches, if you can tell by my choice of ice cream sandwich, meatball
Grilled
sub,
cheese.
grilled cheese. So
You know,
I
I picked the sandwiches of the working man, the blue collar guys. You know,
club.
Well, no, because here's the thing. You know, Captain was talking about his refined taste, and I said that's all well and good. I love those sandwiches, but when I think of a sandwich, I think of just like you're on break from your construction
lunch
job.
pail.
And you need a sandwich. You get yourself a fried chicken sandwich. Tried and true.
I think your list
the people
was overrated. It was overrated.
Not according to like the 80% of people who voted for me in a 3-person
that's fine.
poll. I'll be back next week,
week
folks.
1. It's week 1, baby.
And
Look,
I'm
we got
starting to want to know.
Ben in the chat, Will, Sharon. Absolutely love to see you back to the chairs, big time. Let's
Ben
see.
with a great comment.
If I had a nickel for every time a producer left the show to go on a cross-country road trip, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's weird. It happened twice.
That is actually kind of crazy to put that in perspective.
That is great. That is absolutely great.
Who's
I would say the one difference is, Captain, you're not going. It's not like a bus, right? Shane went on a bus. You are, I guess, going in a big truck, right?
Yeah, in a truck and a trailer.
Truck, trailer, yeah. Different than a bus.
A little different.
Yeah, maybe we draft vehicles to go on a cross-country road trip.
Next week?
With
Without
Shane. With Shane.
With Shane?
Yeah, we could do that.
Bus last pick.
Oh, goodness gracious. You want to get into some actual football discussion
I think we should just
today?
completely tear down Captain Redbeard. I really like
Just for an
that
hour?
idea. I think
For an hour?
I need
Just
2
dang.
shows. I
Wow.
need 2 shows.
Wow.
This show and
The
tomorrow's.
roast.
The roast
The
of Captain
roast of
Redbeard?
Redbeard. Wow, that's
I could take it.
Yeah, I have no doubts about that.
He's like,
I
and then he
need,
just
I need to
beats us
sit
up
at
after the
home.
show.
I need to sit at home and come up with some things
I
that
got
I
15
dislike.
off the dome.
Let's hear 3.
No,
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I
He
can't
doesn't
be
have a
mean,
single
dude.
one.
I can't do that.
Oh,
I can't do that to
You
him.
could. You could. You're choosing not to. You're choosing to be
You're
a good
right.
guy.
I could.
Goodness gracious.
I had the chance to participate in a roast once.
Did you?
I didn't do it, and I regretted it because I told some people my material afterwards. They're like, "Damn, you should have gone up there."
Unbelievable.
I didn't know the guy that well, though. I didn't know why I was invited.
Maybe they're just going to roast you.
No, it was definitely not about me. Anyway, spring football.
Spring football.
Before you talk about the people who have separated themselves, because I'm very interested in that, is there any name that over the last couple of practices that has got onto your radar that wasn't there when spring ball started? Even if it's not for like to run with the ones in the position group, but just in general.
I'm going to go with Man. The freshman running back. He is quicker than I thought, to be completely frank with you. And it looks like he's getting acclimated to the offense, the playbook, relatively quick. I don't know exactly what that role is going to look like. He's been running with the 3s the majority of spring football so far. So I don't really see a role for him this year in the offense, given the fact that we've talked about how loaded this running back room is with Jason Brown Jr., Kyson Brown, Kanye, Alt McCaskill, who shout out happy birthday for Alto today. Like it's a tough room to crack, right, with Raleek, because they're very similar types of players. It feels like Man and Raleek, but I do see a role for Man potentially on special teams, whether that is a return man, kind of like what we've discussed in the past.
Man.
There you go. With Zechariah Sample, Derek Eusebio, some of the speedsters on this team that maybe just can't crack the starting roles because there's so much depth and star power at their respective positions. But I think if they do opt to redshirt him, I'm excited to see what he does in years to come in this offense, because I do think he's a dynamic running back, and he's not somebody that when we started spring football, that would have been a guy that I would have figured we'd be talking about 8 practices in.
Smell that? Smells like a red shirt.
It smells like a red
Smells
shirt.
like let's bank on our future. I think we're okay this season. We got a lot of faith in you. Let's red shirt you. We'll let you play the first 3 games. We'll get you some touches. We'll see how you look. We'll redshirt you, and then you will be higher up on the depth chart next year.
Yeah, 100%. Will brings up a great point. Man, combined with Jason Brown Jr. is going to be a legit in a year or 2, just that combination. Just because, again, they do provide a unique 1-2 punch, right? We talk about Jason Brown Jr. and him trying to craft out a role this season, but that's still going to be tough. He's an explosive player. He's tough to bring down. I'm going to say something, and I don't want it to get misconstrued that he is this guy.
Let's clip it.
But I think in terms of what we saw last year from Cam Scattaboo, we talked a lot about contact balance, right? I think Jason Brown Jr. possesses a lot of that really solid contact balance. I think a big part of it is the fact that he does have a lower center of gravity because he is one of the shorter running backs on this team. But even when we had Kanye in, right, we asked who was maybe surprising him in the weight room, anybody that's stronger than you might expect, and he said Jason Brown Jr. And you see it out there. He's like got just ridiculously sized legs.
Clip it. This is Arizona State's next Cam Scattaboo.
There we go. I love how you talk in YouTube algorithm. It's
I
kinda
got
fun.
to.
Yeah,
I have to.
You can just
I
know
have
exactly
to speak
what
YouTube
the
algorithm.
you have to speak.
That's I translate. I put that like are you bilingual? Like yes, I speak English and I speak YouTube algorithm.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I would say Jason Brown Jr. and Man in a couple of seasons will be a fun group to watch.
I can't wait to reap what we sow.
Yeah.
Can't
And
wait.
there's so many young players on this team. And Marcus Arroyo talked a little bit about it, which that whole presser will be up on our YouTube a little bit later on in the day. Just some of these younger players and kind of how they fit in and how they've impressed him. And he brought up Man. He brought up AJ, who continues to just be a force out there. Some of the young offensive linemen, some of those younger wide receivers like Derek Eusebio, Zechariah Sample, that, again, they're going to have to work, their tail off to try and get reps in this offense, because some of those guys that we'll get into a little bit later that are starting to separate themselves. But it's been really, really interesting to see this group versus last year's group in some of the Herm teams. Just the difference in where they're at through 8 practices. Like last year about this time, I remember this team, you could still point to like, okay, well, they have this to clean up. They have this to clean up. And you could tell that this is going to be a Cam Scadaboo team. I'm interested to see, who's going to win the quarterback job, et cetera.
Yeah.
Now 8 practices into year 3, it feels like a machine. It feels ready to go, and it feels really, really consistent. And it's funny because I was asked by Doug Haller, actually, when I first came back to cover Arizona State years and years ago, what was the biggest difference that I saw in ASU football versus Notre Dame football? And for me, the biggest difference was that Notre Dame football, when you showed up to practice, you could tell that even from the very first spring football practice, you could tell that the goal was a national championship. The goal wasn't 6 games, right? It wasn't 6 wins. It wasn't 7 wins. It wasn't to have, a really good year, right? It was, we are competing to be a national champion every single year. And if you don't understand that, then you are going to fall so far on this depth chart that nobody's going to even remember that you went to Notre Dame. And when I came back and the whole Herm situation, it looked lackadaisical. The practices were jumbled. The energy wasn't
Pro
there.
style.
It was a bunch of BS, right, is what it was. And when Kenny first got here, I could start to see that, with the emphasis on practice and how you go about your business, I could see that start to change. And here we are now, fast forwarded to year 3. And it does look like that same machine that I had seen at other programs where it is like, okay, we are competing for something more than just what the old standard used to be of we're going to go bowling. This is a team that is competing to go back-to-back, that is competing to be a college football playoff team. And that's not just me saying it. That's how they look out there. They look like that's what they're competing for.
So tell me the difference. Right. Let's say for somebody who's not out there, right? Anybody listening who hasn't seen a Notre Dame practice, hasn't seen a Herm Edwards practice, how can you tell the difference beyond just the caliber of talent and the depth that's out there?
It doesn't even really have to do with the caliber of talent, to be completely honest with you. Yes, you see the talent difference out there, but it's more so the way that the guys respond to what is being asked of them. Is it lackadaisical? Is it like, or do we have urgency? Does coach have to get on our tail every single time that we are going from individual drill to team to meetings, etc.? And for this team, the urgency is there. The support, right? And when I say support, I mean when a guy gets an interception, is the opposing team talking trash about it? And is that position group going out there and supporting their dude for getting a takeaway, right? And you see that at a just ridiculous rate at ASU, whether it's a starter getting an interception, whether it's a backup running back scoring a touchdown, the hype is there at all times. And even when they do something good, you see that from the coaches. You see the energy. I tweeted a clip today from Noble Johnson, the Clemson transfer wide receiver, won a great one-on-one rep. And Hines Ward, was out there, and if you listen to the end of the clip, I can't say the rest of the clip, but it's like, beat their tail all practice. Continue to do it, right? Like, that's the type of stuff. Don't let up. It's not just I'm going to pat you on the helmet and say good job. It is like, we are out here to compete. And I think people can get lost, especially people that covered those Herm era teams or that haven't seen other programs, where it's like, this is a team that in a program, I would say that it used to be we're just going through the motions, right? We're a 6th place Pac-12 team. We don't really need to have that kind of urgency, on our recruiting visits. What were the types of things that we were talking about? Were we talking about playing time? Were we talking about NIL? Were we talking about, we just want to be at Arizona State? Or were we talking about, hey, this is where I want to revitalize my career before I go somewhere else? Now, when you go up to Arizona State, and we'll talk about Julian Hugo a little bit later, right? The new class of 2026 edge rusher commit for Arizona State. Now, when people talk about Arizona State, what did he say? What did he tell On3? He said, I have never seen a culture like Arizona State. Arizona State stood out to me above every single other school that he visited. This is a guy that had offers from Arizona, from Oklahoma State, from Utah, USC, North Carolina, a ton of schools. And he said Arizona State's culture was unlike anything he had ever seen. And for us to have that conversation, for recruits to be saying that just heading into year three, that's crazy. That's crazy. And the program, again, the part of the discussion that we'll have a little bit later on is how can this team go back-to-back? Is it possible for them to go back-to-back? The reason that we're even able to have these conversations in April is because of the process that was put in place to tear down what that program used to be. Because if you go out to an Arizona State practice right now, it looks nothing, absolutely nothing like it did a half decade ago. And I mean that in the absolute best way possible.
And I think part of the reason why we can still have that conversation is because they're not satisfied after last season.
No.
Right? They're not going to sit back and say, oh, you know what? We did all of that. We can be good. We have a ton of returning talent. And they say, no, let's go out and let's prove it.
And that's the thing that you go to those other places. You go to Notre Dame. You go to Ohio State. You go to Florida State. You go to Clemson. And that's that same mentality. It's last year is last year. This is a new team with new goals. You know what's better than being a champion one time? Being a champion a whole bunch of times.
You know what's better than being a good team one year? Is being a dominant powerhouse in college football. Being one of those schools that, remember, Kenny talked about, like every decade, a school emerges.
Yeah.
An Oregon, a Clemson. Is it Arizona State in the 2020s? They want that. And they know the players that are young now that we're talking about redshirting, the players that are committing, the players that are looking towards the future, know that the players who are there right now, whether it's guys that might go to the NFL, guys who are going to be rotation pieces in college for their entire 4 years, or players that have been around the program that still just aren't going to play, but they're good culture guys, good locker room guys, good depth pieces. They know that they're going to set a foundation for them to continue to succeed beyond this year.
Yeah.
They know that this coaching staff is going to be here beyond this year. And it becomes a whole lot easier for you to give your all for a coach if you know the coach is giving your all for you because they are where they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we talk about how open these practices are to media and how different that is under Kenny than any other coach before. Don't think that doesn't drive these guys either, right? Like having a live audience, for lack of a better term, having people with cameras out, having people actually want to cover you and cover your team when you're taking these one-on-one reps. I'm not saying anybody would be giving up if you're not there, but when the lights are on, when the cameras are on, even during practice, and you got your entire guys behind you cheering you on or getting really angry if you mess up and you look across from you, you're going to see an enemy.
Yeah, you don't want to lose.
Even though you know at the end of the day, you're going to go break bread with them and you're going to want to win with them for the rest of the season, you see an enemy and you see your chance to say, I'm going to prove that I'm better.
Yeah.
And that other person sees the same thing. Not, I'm going to go get mine. Nobody here really cares. We barely have any media. I know that Herm is just here to be Herm. This coordinator is gone. Like, everybody's kind of playing for themselves. Like, it's the pro style program that they had beforehand. No, like, this is a college football program.
It is.
For lack of a better term, this is what a premier college football program should be operating like. Now they need to go out and prove it for another season because they are not among the premier college football programs, but they see an opportunity. They see the path. They just got to walk down it.
Yeah. This is, and I think the best way to put it, I think you bring up a good point, right? In terms of, like, you see an enemy, and maybe you don't go as far to say that, but I think it is very
the worst person you've ever seen in your entire life.
It's very offense versus defense, right?
My side versus your side.
Exactly. And it's when anybody on defense makes a play, like, that entire defensive sideline is chirping at that entire offensive sideline. And it has been a lot of defensive chirping over the first 8 practices of spring football, because something that we've brought up, something that's been brought up to me out there, is that this defense has the potential to be the best defense in a conference with 16 teams. And they returned a ton of talent. The one starter that's gone to the NFL, you're replacing him with Montana Warren, who's going into year 3 of this same system. So you have a lot of hope there. You added a defensive lineman from Oregon. You added, 2 corners from Purdue, one that had played at Georgia. You added a safety from Washington State. Like, you got better, right? This isn't like a team that you have to talk about, okay, how do we rebuild a Big 12
How
champion?
does Kenny do it again? How does he take a roster full of, for lack of a better term, misfits or players that weren't fitting in where they were before, a bunch of different pieces, and how can he make that puzzle work in 1 year? No. He has almost all the same pieces.
It's a reload.
Couple big ones missing. but you have the plan to replace it. Part of that plan is a question that Connor asked. From last season to this upcoming season, how much better do you think the chemistry is going to be between Sam Leavitt and Jordyn Tyson in 2025? You want to answer that?
On the other side of the break?
You're damn right.
Let's do it.
Get your money up, not your funny up, and make sure when your money is up, you're using Monarch Money to keep track of it, because it is hard to make sure that you are keeping your money where it is supposed to be nowadays. And that's why using Monarch Money helps me out with stress, helps me out with all the finances and the problems that you have in life, because they put everything in one simple location, and it's a top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with 30,000 live or 30,000 5-star reviews, named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. And it's a finance tool that you're actually going to use. You're not going to sign up, see all these flashy perks and say, oh, it's cool, and then not use them ever again. No, you're going to be able to see your spending, savings, investments effortlessly, so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals the reality. And now you can get that so much easier. Get control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHNX.
Get your money up, not your funny up.
Facts.
I like that. Look, I got a public service announcement. We've got big news from David Kimmerly, president of America's most awarded Ford dealership, Sanderson Ford. Ford just announced From America for America employee pricing. Now you pay what he pays on the full lineup on new Fords with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense. And of course, no added markups. Employee pricing levels the playing field for Ford dealers as everyone gets the same set price. However, other dealers will still add addendums and add-ons. Sanderson Ford won't do it. Choose Sanderson because they have the inventory and a 70-year reputation of treating you right. Ford is undeniably the most America-first automaker in the world. 80% of the vehicles Ford sells are assembled in factories located in America, and they will be less affected by those tariffs. Now is the time to buy a new Ford with From America for America employee pricing. Excludes 2025 Expedition, 2025 Super Duty, Raptors, Mustang, and Bronco specialty vehicles.
And big shout out to Sanderson Ford sponsoring our hole-in-one competition this Saturday at the PHNX Green Jacket Open out at Dobson Ranch Golf Course. Still time to sign up as a single or as a foursome, 2 p.m. shotgun start. And if you win with a hole-in-one on the Sanderson Ford hole, you get 2-year prepaid lease on a new F-150 Super Crew.
I want that.
And guess what? Speaking of Super Crew, PHNX's Super Crew is going to be here. There. So many of your favorites going to be hanging out throughout the day. And of course, if you can't make it out there, well, make sure you stop by Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass to join Bo, Johnny, and all the Cardinals diehards at the Upper Deck Bar and Grill for an unforgettable NFL draft party and live show presented by Circle K. And of course, Gila River. A ticket includes entrance to the Upper Deck Bar and Grill, a buffet, watching the Cardinals live show, drink tickets, raffle tickets for giveaways, and of course, all PHNX diehards receive 20% off. Go to gophnx.com/events to check out both of those events coming up very, very soon.
You're getting all the things when you go.
All of the things.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Getting back to Connor's question, again, for those just joining us, Connor asks, from last season to this upcoming season, how much better do you think the chemistry is going to be between Sam Leavitt and Jordyn Tyson for 2025? You want my honest opinion?
No.
It's going to be the best quarterback wide receiver duo in college football next year.
That's what I like to hear.
And that is, again, based off of what we saw the last 5 to 7 games between Sam Leavitt and Jordyn Tyson. Jordyn Tyson was having a ridiculous stretch. This guy was scoring multiple touchdowns every single game. He was 6, 7, 8+ catches every single game, going over the century mark what felt like every single game. I think a lot of people, myself included, believe that college football playoff game would have looked entirely different if Jordyn Tyson was available. And now you're telling me these two come back another year in this system. They're better friends than they were probably at this time last season. They're healthier, right? So I think realistically, again, based off the schedule that they have, based off of the chemistry that they've already developed, I think these two are going to be the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the country. Now, I'm not saying that I think either one of them is the best at their respective position in the entire country. I think you can make an argument for Sam. But I think combining, this quarterback wide receiver duo, I think it is 100% going to be as good, if not better than advertised.
Can I show you something?
Yeah.
Something that you've never seen before.
I guess we only have 2 more days to throw this up there. So go ahead, throw it up. Why not?
Well, listen, if you want to talk about how much better Sam Leavitt's going to be when it comes to chemistry this season, well, I have an answer for you that has a lot of proof in the pudding. Now, I know this is not something that we have talked about really
we
ever.
have never put this graphic up on the screen before.
Ever put this graphic up on the screen before. But let's go ahead and take a look.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
At Sam Leavitt's stats for the first half of the season versus the second half of the season. I'm not going to read them all, but as you saw, as he grew more comfortable with his offense, as he grew more comfortable with Jordyn Tyson, his numbers got better. And as much as you could develop chemistry in the offseason and all the things that you said were true, I do think that you got to go out there and play some more regular season games and be on the same page and pick up new little cadences and little just hints of, ooh, I know they like having the ball there. I know they want to run this route at this time. I know that if I hit him here, his yak is going to be way easier than before because of how he moves his body. These are 2 cerebral players in Jordyn Tyson.
They're
and
NFL
Sam Leavitt.
players.
They're NFL players, but they're also they're very prideful players as well who know that they're good, but know that a lot of the responsibility for this team to be able to A, replace Cam Scatterbo, and B, go back-to-back as far as Big 12 champions go and go back to the college football playoffs and finish the job that they started last year. A lot of it's going to fall on their shoulders.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Whether it comes to production, whether it comes to media attention, whether it comes to award winning, whatever it is, a lot of it is going to fall on their shoulders. And I think that they're ready for it. And I do think that they'll continue to get better. And I have no reason to believe that this won't be the most potent duo.
Yeah.
In the Big 12.
I mean, again, we talk about the connection, and I know the numbers look a little inflated at the end of the season, right? 8 catches for $143 and a touchdown against Arizona, 9 catches for $127, no touchdowns against BYU. Kansas State, 12 catches, $176, 2 touchdowns. But if you go back and you look at everything that Jordyn Tyson did as just a complete year, right? A complete product. After week 4, right? The Texas Tech game, there was not a single game that Jordyn Tyson didn't have at least 70 receiving yards. The entirety of the season after week 4, right? And that in week 2, week 3, he had 6 catches for $120 and a touchdown against Texas State, right? So I know there's
that was his first
a lot's going to be made.
Of the season.
A lot's going to be made, and rightfully so, for what he did down the stretch. But he put together a pretty complete season, right? 6 catches, 5 catches, 6 catches, 8 catches, 7 catches, 12 catches. Like, he was very clearly Sam Leavitt's number 1 target. And now they come back, right? And of course, Cam Scatterbo provided a ton for this offense.
Of course.
But you're trying to replace that production now. Jordyn Tyson is going to get double the amount of targets that he got a season ago. And maybe he's going to get even fewer eyes on him from defensive coordinators, because after week 3 or week 4, these defenses are going to realize that, hey, if you're going to send all your attention to Jordyn Tyson, that's fine. We got a new toy from Alabama that can take the top off in Jaren Hamilton. We got a 6'5" wide receiver from Penn State, Malik McClain. We got Noble Johnson from Clemson, who can run with the best of them.
Tight end room full of dogs.
Like, you're gonna find out real quick that if your game plan is to just simply try and put Jordyn Tyson in a box, which is already hard enough to do in and of itself, no one could really do it last year. Go ahead, try it. There's plenty of other weapons on this offense that can make you really, really, really pay. So
I want to see it, man.
I know, it's only April. It's only April, man.
Okay,
it's tough.
Well, you did say that there were a couple people who were separating themselves. Can we run through those guys?
We can run through some of those guys. So we'll start with, I think, Noble Johnson, a guy that I just mentioned at the wide receiver position. He is somebody that I think going into spring ball, there was some questions for me just in terms of his hands, right? And I think I brought that up maybe with Jaren Hamilton or some of the other wide receivers where it just felt like they were dropping some passes. I think after going through 8 practices, it's pretty clear to me that it felt more so like a chemistry issue, more like a synergy
throwing
thing.
The ball too hard.
They just haven't played together, right? So it is a little bit more of a challenge. But through those 8 practices, it feels like Noble has really settled in. They've been really, really cautious with Jordyn Tyson.
As they should, especially that he's coming off of injury.
He doesn't have a major injury or anything. Like a couple of weeks back, rolled his ankle, and that was that, right? So Fully expect Jordyn Tyson to be 100% by the time the season goes. It's all precautionary at this point. But what that does is Noble gets more reps out there, right? Running kind of that same position. And I really like what I've seen from him just in terms of how he mirrors what Jordyn Tyson does. I don't think that he is what Jordyn Tyson is as a wide receiver. I don't think he's as explosive. But I think, again, kind of what I see from Jalen Moss, he has fun little ways of kind of separating and getting open. So Noble Johnson is certainly a name that I'm interested to see how they utilize him in the rotation. Similar to Jaren Hamilton, they're both very young wide receivers. He didn't play a ton at Clemson. The same Jaren didn't play a ton at Alabama. But you see why those guys went there. And what I love seeing is they always tell you, right, if you do something wrong in practice and a coach doesn't get on your butt about it, right, he doesn't care. Yeah. So even when Noble does something good or when he does something bad, kind of like I mentioned in that video that I tweeted, Hines Ward is on his tail, dude. And he does that with pretty much all his wide receivers. But it is good to see guys welcome that level of coaching, because in years past, there have been guys on this roster where it feels like a position coach tries to coach them up and they're just not interested in hearing it because they think they are the greatest thing since, sliced bread.
Or they don't think the coach is genuine. I think that those two things happen a lot more often than people think. That yes, the player isn't receptive to that type of criticism, which is why the biggest thing that Kanye and company look at when they're recruiting, when they're looking at the transfer portal, is character over whatever talent or production you've put up.
Yeah.
But B, man, and you played sports, and I'm sure a lot of people who have had coaches throughout their lives, like, you can tell when a coach genuinely cares about you, and when a coach is kind of getting off on their own power trip.
Yeah. 100%. Right? Hines Ward doesn't need to do that.
No, but he could. He could. Yeah. He could be, I'm a Super Bowl MVP. I'm a Super Bowl champion. Look at me. Who are you, little guy?
Yeah.
Down there.
Little guy. Like they're all not 6 foot something.
Yeah, but he's Hines Ward. So you know what I mean? No, but again, the same thing that Kenny and ASU has looked with coaches and people who believe in the process and believe in the system is you're not going to get a coach who is like, man, like the players just don't think that they have like their best interest in mind, or they genuinely care about more than just, do we win games or do we lose? Or can I use you and use your talent to get the most out of you before I discard you for my next shiny object?
Yeah.
No, like, okay, you care about my development. You care about who I am personally. You care about who I care about, right? That goes so long when you mess up and now that same person is going, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable. Shout out Monty Williams. I'm calling you up. I'm not calling you out.
There you go.
But locker rooms can sour.
Yeah.
Coaches can try to have that message and it doesn't resonate. And I think William also puts to this as the amount of bleep talking that happens in practice is crazy. The fact they're all so close and no serious fights break out is a huge testament to the culture that's being built.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to light a fire under your ass, and then I'm going to tell you that I love you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to tell you need to be better, and then I'm going to praise you when you do it.
And they don't even need to tell them that they need to be better, right? Like, again, we're talking about a team in year 3 that has a culture of a program that's in year 12. Like, that's realistically what it looks like.
It's kind of crazy when you say that out loud.
Because, again, this is the team that just got done with sanctions from an NCAA investigation because the last head coach had his head so far up his behind that, they couldn't even function as a unit against Eastern Michigan.
Less than 12 months ago, this program was picked to be the worst in their Power 4 conference.
But again, you go out there and it's these guys are holding each other accountable, right? I can't tell you the amount of times, and this is right off of practice. They're in period 4, getting into team tempo, and they go in and out, right? We got the 1s, then we got the 2s, and then we got the 3s, right? So the 1s go in there. Boom, they do their reps. The 2s go in there, they come out, and the 3s are out there. I see Xavion Alford on the sideline coaching up the guys behind him. Right? That's the type of player that you have. Those are the types of things that weren't happening at Arizona State 4 years ago. Or you go to the defensive line room, and I see Clayton Smith, again, kind of same thing. We're after team tempo, and he's talking with Justin Watley, or he's talking with Kangaika, or any of those guys, building them up, and they're just, again, they act like they're teammates out there. They act like we are, yes, a bunch of individuals, but with the same common goal. And that's, again, not to beat a dead horse here, but it's something that you didn't see at Arizona State just a few years back.
No, you don't see it in a lot of places.
You don't. You see it, realistically, you see it about 15 to 20 places a year in college football. Like, there are that many programs cohesively, and there are fewer programs than that realistically you can look at and be like, okay, you are a national championship contender.
Yeah, you could do that, but do you also have the talent?
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. And that's why you see year over year in college football, and I know this is kind of off a different trail here than what we initially got on.
On PHNX Sun Devils?
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But, like, that's why every single year in college football, you look to the college football playoff, and yes, it's now 12 teams, so there's a little bit more parity. You get some programs that you never got in there before. But that's why for such a long period of time, when it was a 14 playoff, who did you see? You saw a rotation. You saw Oregon. You saw Ohio State. You saw Georgia. You saw Clemson. You saw Bama. Who else?
Well, Notre Dame in there.
Notre Dame. That's it. Those are the programs that you saw consistently, right? And the only reason Michigan was in there is because they had the culture guy and Jim Harbaugh as the coach. Yeah. What's happened to them since then, right?
Nothing but great things.
Yeah. So there are only so many programs that have that established culture. So I think when Kenny was talking about, months ago about, there's programs that come out of the weeds every decade or so that you just don't see coming. Oregon, Clemson. Those programs didn't have just flash in the pan seasons, right? Those are programs that when we're talking about changing the perception of them on a national basis, it's consistency year over year, which ultimately all starts with the head coach and the culture of which he is trying to actually build. And for Arizona State to try and be that, to try and be the next Clemson, to be the next Oregon, which I think they can be, they're off to a phenomenal start because, like I just said, they have the culture of a program that is many, many years ahead of where they should be.
They're off to a better start than those schools were at the beginning.
College football playoff in year 2.
They're off to about the best start you could possibly imagine. It's just up to them to not fumble that. I'm excited to hear some more of these players that have separated themselves, but right after this break. I don't know if I call it celebrating, but you know what I'm going to call it celebrating. I had to celebrate when I got home last night because the Phoenix Suns, a season officially died. 2 more games, which is hilarious, by the way. Womp womp. But I had to relax. I had to enjoy myself, and I had to go into my night smoothly. And I did that with Pure Edibles, founded in Arizona and available in 130 dispensaries statewide, or you can do what I do and just get it from Max's office. Pure gummies are not covered in sugar like all their competitors. They're a full-fledged candy company, but the best part about their gummies is their effects are clearly listed on each tin, so you know exactly what to expect. And if you are new to edibles, that is extremely important. And the fact that Pure Edibles are easily ripped or bit in half, making it easy to dial in your exact dose. You want to make sure you start small and then work your way up to know exactly what is right for you. You can use CBN, CBG, CBD, and of course marijuana-derived THC to do any effects such as sleep, uplift, relax, balance, whatever it is. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries in Arizona.
Guys, make sure you elevate your brand with Branded Bills, the perfect headwear and apparel. Rubus is always elevating his personal brand. Captain Redbeard behind the Mac, you don't get to see him often, but he is always doing the same thing, elevating his brand. He's wearing a Branded Bills cap. I'm looking over here. I see some Branded Bills caps. There is literally Branded Bills hats all over PHNX Studios, and that's because we're always elevating our brand.
That's right. That's literally our brand.
That is literally our brand.
Because you can get your own custom hat.
I love it. I love it.
That looks good on you.
Whether you need
the fit.
snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills always has you covered with performance and style. They've got partnerships with Arizona State. Of course, they do some charity work on the side with those Wildcats down south as a part of their campus collection. But guys, they have hats for everything that you might need. I'm going to be sporting this one over on the course this Saturday weekend. Make sure you head to brandedbills.com and use that code PHNX for 20% off your first order.
For those of you on audio, I was not booing Branded Bills. I was booing the fact that Kevin Thomas, our Wildcats host and producer, threw a U of A Branded Bills hat
How often
at us.
Do you think Kevin thinks about us?
Once of every 5 minutes?
Yeah. And do you think it's more so with Bobby Hurley?
Yeah, I think it's just like, man, like I like those guys over there.
Yeah.
Like
it's like the Squidward meme, where it's like we're Patrick and SpongeBob playing outside,
for
and
sure.
then he's got to watch Brent Brennan football.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of what it is. Who would you rather have?
Oh God,
Brent Brennan or Bobby Hurley?
No.
Be like, I don't want to watch sports anymore.
I'll go watch the Phoenix Suns. Oh wait. Oh man. Oh wait.
Just pain. Just pure pain. Will, that's right. It's just rent free, man. It's rent free in this office.
Well, rent free in my head is ASU spring football. I'm dying to know who separated themselves.
It literally lives rent free in my head. I think before we get to another player separate themselves, one thing that I think has been interesting is what I do. Call me Totri the Tease. Is
new nickname just dropped.
I think when we were talking about the nickel corner spot about Montana Warren, and I still think it's Montana Warren's spot, to be honest with you. I think Heinrich Breedlove had a really good day today.
Okay.
The Purdue corner transfer, who is normally, I believe, a perimeter guy outside the numbers, brought him in. He's been working at that nickel spot. He had, a really good day in coverage. He laid the boom one time that had the entire defense losing their mind. Sorry that had to be Alton McCaskill that he hit on his birthday.
Oh, come on, dude.
That's tough.
Oh, that's
tough
messed
way to go.
up, man.
It's tough to do that to the boy.
That is messed up.
But I've liked the way that he looks at that nickel corner spot. Again, I still think it's Montana Warren's spot, but I'm interested to see if it's, a little bit of a rotation, if it is going to be a solely one-man job, or realistically how they go about that. But getting back to, I think, the position that I think everybody still wants to know what's going to happen.
Quarterback.
Yeah. I think Sam Leavitt's got the job.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, there are things that this man does in practice where I'm out there watching, and I promise you I'm not exaggerating. I don't want it to be like, oh my gosh, he's biased. This dude does, things that you see only on Sundays.
Like what?
Some of just the way that he moves in the pocket, in the way he contorts his body to make some ridiculous throws downfield, or even throws that go for 5 yards. I'm standing there today watching it. Of course, defensive lineman, you're not allowed to hit the quarterback. If you hit the quarterback, you might as well run all the way up a mountain and just stay up there for quite some time. He took the snap from the gun in a team period, rolled completely out to his left, right? Did a 360 rollout. He's running to the sideline. He's got a defensive lineman in his face with a corner in great coverage. He's got to hit his third string tight end on the sideline and just effortlessly throws it there while contorting his body on the run. I'm like, dude, what are you on?
So it's safe to say that those control issues with his power and his arm have been resolved?
Yeah, he's grown, dude. He's grown size-wise. I think I know that everything that you've heard about spring football is defense is winning, and I think that's true. But Sam Leavitt has gotten better as a quarterback, as a player, which is scary to think about, considering how much he grew from there you go. From the 6 games and 6 games and whatever.
Greatest graphic in PHNX history.
He will be the next Arizona State quarterback to play on Sundays.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a stretch.
No.
He does those types of things that it's just like you sit there. I sit there and practice, and I get the luxury of being able to see it for 2.5 hours. And I sit there and I'm just like, bro, what?
Bro, what?
How, you don't see quarterbacks like that at Arizona State. The last one that you saw that could do anything like that was Jaden Daniels. Before that, who are we talking about?
Jake Plummer.
Those are the 3 quarterbacks that Arizona State's had.
I will not take Manny Wilkins' disrespect over here.
It's not Manny Wilkins' disrespect.
Stop hating on Milkins.
But 2% over there didn't have much when we're talking NFL talent.
What was his rap name again?
Oh, bro.
Was it M5?
I don't listen to Manny Wilkins' SoundCloud rap. That's not what's on my playlist by any means.
Name.
There's no way it pops up.
5.
It's just
5 with the 5. You know how black has the 6 in front of it. 6 black. Yeah, it's 5. But with
Thank you
5.
for explaining that to me.
This is how to make it. Yeah, I mean, it popped up. The St. Louis Riverfront Times. Battlehawks QB Manny Wilkins Jr. is making music is 5.
Will says Taylor Kelly had that skill set too. Max Simpson in the chat just saying Andrew Walter. Love that. Thanks, Max.
NFL to recording studio. Former Packers QB. Focusing on. Let's click on this. Focusing on music career.
Probably good.
The Arizona State product had tons of success in college playing in the Pac-12.
Didn't really have tons of success.
Not according to wearegreenbay.com.
Well, sure. Maybe they know. We don't know. I'll just.
We should play some of Milken's stuff on here.
We should not do that at all.
Hurdle King.
I don't really want to. Speaking of old Arizona State quarterbacks, Brock Osweiler was there today.
Oh, wow.
He was there. Lawrence Guy was there, friend of the program. Jordan Clark was out there. Ton of former Sun Devils out there just watching the Devils be some dudes.
That's big time.
On a Thursday afternoon. So it was cool. It was weird seeing Jordan Clark back out there, a guy who literally was just playing a national championship with Notre Dame, getting ready for the NFL draft.
Back home.
Just back home, sporting a Sun Devil, all gold, by the way, long sleeve. Like, man, if only you had a year eligibility left. I feel so bad for that guy. Like, part of me feels bad, I guess, and part of me doesn't, because I'm like, you left Arizona State right when they went to the college football playoff, and then I'm like, but you went to a team that was in the national championship.
Yeah, he went to Notre Dame. Ended up okay.
He ended up okay. He had to live in South Bend for a year, so that's
why he's back here now.
That sucks. But man, I'm just thinking, I'm like, imagine if he was. And I did this last year. Is I was just like, this team did so many amazing things with the guys that they had. Imagine last year's team if the guys that transferred out didn't leave.
Elijah Badger, Jalen Conyers, BJ Green,
Jordan Clark,
Jaden Rashada.
All starters, by the way, at other universities.
Yeah, Jaden Rashada.
Nah, he could.
Jaden Rashada.
That's fine.
It's Jaden Rashada.
Nah, it's okay. He can. One more time.
Can we look at that graphic one more time?
No. I'm so tired of that graphic.
You're never going to see it. We're never bringing it up again.
Ever.
Tomorrow's the last day.
Should we just for an hour tomorrow
just
have that on the whole
screen?
screen?
I think we should just have it like in the top right corner, like a sponsor bug. This episode
We're sponsored
of
by
PHNX Sun
Sam
Devils
Leavitt's last 6 games of the season.
Sponsored by this graphic.
Oh my!
We should sell the rights to that graphic, considering how many times we've shown it. You still have avoided my question, by the way, of who else is separated, and you avoided it because I made a joke, and that took us down the Sam Leavitt path.
What joke did you make?
You're like, there's still like competition and people asking about. And I said
yeah. See what you did? You killed 8 minutes. The people are upset. So you want to know who's separating themselves?
Yes.
Okay. Jaren Hamilton continues to separate himself.
Literally
separate himself. The more that I watch this kid, the more I think it's going to be tough for Arizona State to keep him off the field, man. I know he's a young player, but at the end of the day, I have a tough time believing that you're going to keep somebody with that skill set off the field. Scored a touchdown today, I believe, on an end around from like
he's touchdown city,
40 yards out. Like he's magic with the ball in his hand, dude. Raleek Brown too. He continues to do some really fun things in team period. I don't know what this running back room is going to look like. Marcus Arroyo said today that it's leaning more toward like a committee, which could be interesting given the fact that this team has so many different weapons at running back, right? Kanye.
They'll start a committee. Somebody's
Kanye looked good today. I think Kanye maybe had his best practice that I've seen out there.
It'll probably take some games to truly, like, that's the thing is you can have a great practice, and I'm sure Kyson's look great as well. But I think once you get into the first like 4, 5, 6 games of the season, when it is a committee, somebody's going to stand out.
Yeah, it's tough when everybody stands out.
Yeah, but like there's always somebody who, when you get into the game, it's like, okay, like you could see it. And if you can't, that's because they're both going to be doing good, which is a good problem to have. But I'd be shocked if by like week 6, week 7, we don't have like a running back 1, a running back 2, even if it's separated by like this much.
We've seen it in the past, though, at Arizona State.
Just a little bit.
Like, I know it's been a while, right? Because Arizona State fans have been blessed with ridiculous riches when it comes to running backs over the last 7 years?
Like even longer than that. Yeah, forever.
But I think the last time you have seen a true by committee at Arizona State was the year that it was DeMario Richard and Kalen Ballage.
Yeah.
And I believe Benjamin was a freshman that year, which, again,
crazy.
Ridiculous.
I mean, it's just a crazy room. That's a crazy room.
But that was something that I think worked out for Arizona State really well because you're able to keep both of these guys really fresh.
But you wouldn't say that there was a true running back one there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think a lot of people want to say Kalen Ballage.
I think a lot of people would say Kalen Ballage.
And you would be wrong because DeMario, I think, got more carries that year. And DeMario, if you take away the one game where Kalen scored like 8 touchdowns.
One of the greatest games in college football
If you go back, well, let's play that game. I'd love to play that game.
Sure.
Arizona State, what year was that? That was 2017?
That was
that they played Tech?
2017. 2016.
Was it 2016 season? Oh, no, it took me to ASU basketball.
Yeah, you don't want to go there.
I
believe that was the 2016
Get out of
season.
here. Let's see, the Texas Tech game.
2017 season was the first year of Herm.
So it was the 2016 season.
That's what I believe.
Okay, let me go back to 2016 here, and we can see what the running... Yeah, because this is the game that Balaj... You know Balaj only had 137 rushing yards that game?
Yeah, he was kind of just focused on
137 rushing yards.
Zone.
Okay, dude. Let's see. So 2016... wow, this is actually kind of embarrassing. So yeah, Demario Richard was definitely, if we're going on who was more of the lead running back, Demario Richard had 30 more carries than Kalen did.
It's so weird because I think if you ask people, a lot of people would say Kalen Balaj.
It's because Kalen Balaj found the end zone 14 times and Demario found it 3 times.
Yeah.
That's why people say Kalen Balaj.
So one was the workhorse and one was the...
Demario had more carries. He had more yards.
Demario was the jab.
Yeah.
And Kalen was the cross. And maybe that's what happens this year.
And Manny Wilkins himself, by the way. Manny Wilkins had more carries that year than Kalen did.
Milkins.
Which is absolutely insane to think about. Arizona State as a team that year had 27 rushing touchdowns.
Manny Wilkins that year, I believe 149 pass attempts without an interception. Was tied a school record.
Dang.
Just letting you know.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Never forget.
Why? Why can we not?
Freaking Wilkins.
You can always forget. Is that guy live in your head forever?
I'm looking at his PFF grades.
Oh, my gosh.
It
can't be good. It can't be
There's
good.
literally no rating.
Was PFF even around when he was going?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, he has, it's all zeros and no data and not enough snaps.
Will saying this offense looking like an Avengers lineup. Too many good options to give them all screen time.
Who's the Hawkeye?
The best part of the Avengers is there is plenty of sequels. So
wow.
I think when we're looking at Arizona State and we're talking about all this talent that you might not be able to get all out there at once, given the fact that they have recruited these guys with that in mind, these kids know, right? There's going to be competition, yes, but if I'm somebody that is a young player on this team, if I'm man, right? I know I'm a talented running back. I could have gone to a number of schools, and I knew going in, hey, guess what? Kanye Udoh is here. He's a 1,000-yard rusher at Army. Kyson Brown's been sitting in this backfield like a caged animal for the last 2 years, and you're telling me he gets to go out there. Raleek Brown did get a play last year because of a hamstring injury. He played wide receiver at USC a couple years ago. You know you're not playing. You know you're not starting, right? So that leads me to believe that these kids know going forward, hey, this is going to be a process. This is going to be, okay, maybe I don't get a play in year 1. Maybe I don't get a play in year 2, but when I get my opportunity in year 3 and year 4, I'll be going into my 3rd or 4th year in this system, and I will feel 10 times more comfortable doing it. That's why Arizona State hasn't really ever had like long-term manageable success, right? Is because what Sean Aguano say how many months ago that this is the first time since he's been at Arizona State where the offensive coordinator is coming back for a 2nd year.
Crazy.
If you don't have like consistency like within the actual scheme, then of course there's no chance for long-term success.
And you'll see this season some of those players that have been waiting their turn. I think Montana Warren is maybe the number 1 name.
Probably him or
comes
Kyson.
To mind. Kyson, who's already seen success. Like as a young player, if you see other players who have done the same thing that you're being asked to do, then step up in their 3rd year and their 4th year, and you can go, oh wow, like that really worked out for them. They are making a huge impact on a big stage for a great team. That can be me. I'm going to work to be that.
Yeah.
Like that's the example that could be set, and that's the path that could be carved out. Are there any other like final thoughts and things that might lead to a Big 12 championship that we can take note of here in spring?
Ooh, that might lead to a Big 12 championship. This defense, I know we talk about Sam. I know we talk about Jordyn, the running backs, the weapons at wide receiver, but this defense is going to be they have the potential to be the best defense in this conference. I've said it a number of times already. There isn't really a reason why they shouldn't be. I was talking with somebody out there today with the intention of like, okay, what's the only thing that can hold this team back from being the number 1 defense in this conference? I think obviously injuries are something that you look on. Yep, beat me to it. And number 2 is
I was like ready. I knew you were going to say that.
Does the pass rush get better than it was a year ago? I think if the pass rush gets better and Prince Dorba, Clayton Smith, CJ Fight, Justin Watley, Jacob Kangaika, these guys can get to the quarterback and bring him down, then I think there is the ceiling for this defense is limitless. I think they can be the best in the conference.
I think a lot also falls on it, and this is not in a way of me saying that I doubt it's going to happen, but Montana Warren stepping in for Shamari. We saw what it was like without Shamari in that nickel corner spot in the first half against Texas. Of course, great team, big stage, tough situation, not a lot of prep time. So hoping that Montana can do what we think he can do and step in and excel in that role. And that the depth is holding up as far as the transfers go, the way that we think it is as well. If either of those things don't go as planned, I think the defense is going to have a little bit of problems. But we're going at that's what I love to see, Eduardo.
You got to read that now,
okay,
man.
Eduardo says, yo, what's up, boys? Ruby, I'm sleeping like a champ because of those edibles, bro. I got you. Y'all need suggestions on which edibles to choose and
Set
for
up
what.
your edibles.
I can help you out. I can help you out, my friend. Remember at this point last year, we were talking about, hey, okay, Eduardo. all right, Eduardo. Now you got to chill out. Just by the way, your basketball program is trash, guys. Should have fired Bobby.
Yeah,
we know.
Yeah. News to us, by the way.
What?
Oh my gosh.
That's my favorite thing is people were like trying to get at me by trash talking like the ASU basketball program and Bobby Hurley. It's like everything that you've said is like I've said in front of a camera about 1,000 times in the past 365 days. So let's dap
U
it
of A
up.
fans be like, yo, your men's basketball team sucks, right? And
be like,
we're just like,
yeah,
we watched.
We're not
watched
gonna lie to people. He says your football squad is gangster, so we appreciate that.
That's facts.
But remember, and I love Cole, and obviously the injury was rough on him. But going into last season, we're like, man, Cole's going to be a really big part of this defense. You're going to need Cole to be able to kind of like fill this really important position. And not that it's like they wouldn't have been better with him, but they were able to overcome without him. So even with injuries, even with whatever happens during the season, we saw Caleb McCullough step up. I know that's a storyline we referenced a lot. Like the depth and the preparedness of this team, I'm not worried about. But we're no longer just talking about being a good team, like you mentioned.
Nah.
We're trying to be, as a program collectively, if you're walking in every day to Arizona State, it's like we're trying to be national champions. Mm-hmm. And that's taking it like 3 steps higher than what you were last year. Because the difference between getting bumped in the first round of the college football playoffs and winning the college football playoffs is way bigger, I feel like, than being top 25 and making 100%. The college football playoffs.
100%, right? And I have this conversation with a lot of my friends and family when we have that conversation of like, because I had family friends that were on that Notre Dame team, that were on that Ohio State team, and it's always trash talk of like, well, it wouldn't have mattered, right, if Arizona State beat Texas, because guess what, you get to run into Ohio State, or you get to the national championship and you're running into Notre Dame. So like that is another big step for this team is, yes, you can make an Elite Eight of a college football playoff. And if you beat Texas, like, don't get me wrong, winning the Peach Bowl is a hell of an accomplishment. But if you are winning those games, and now we're talking, you're going toe to toe with Notre Dame, you're going toe to toe with Ohio State. Those are different games. Those are different players. Those are NFL caliber programs that are spending $20+ million a year on their roster. So
we'll see.
Yeah, that's realistically all we can do. At least you don't see Ohio State and Notre Dame on the non-con schedule for Arizona State.
Not yet.
No, but you see LSU in a couple years.
Yeah,
which will be fun.
Florida in like the 2030s.
Potentially,
I think so.
I don't want to get into the 2030s.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty.
I've already
horrific.
looked up Manny Wilkins. I need to look that up.
You've looked up Manny Wilkins too many times for my liking at this point in the show. You got anything else before we get out of here?
That's it, brother.
Captain, you got anything you want to get off your chest here?
I'm excited to see how they're going to perform next year.
Yeah, while you're in Alaska.
I think they do even better next year.
Wow.
They do better than an 11-win season.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, considering that he also predicted ASU basketball to win 2 of their last 4 games.
He predicted ASU to win 2 of their last 14 games. Yeah. And that did happen.
I know. But that was basketball. Man. It's a different thing.
That's facts.
We're going to bring Captain back just for basketball season.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
The pain in his eyes.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on your way out. Drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast if you haven't already. If you enjoyed today's content, give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow that guy right there, pointing the finger. That's Erik Ruby. That's Erik with a K. You can follow the captain of this lovely vessel. You can follow Captain Redbeard at K Coop Sports. And make sure you're here tomorrow for the final appearance of Captain Redbeard on the PHNX Sun Devils show. Guys, as always, go Devils. In peace.
We all silly like the mayor.